Hello, welcome back. Today I thought we're going to service this IWC. It's in really good condition. It's a monocoque construction, which means that it's a single case construction. It's one piece, and we got to load this movement out the front. So what we're going to start by doing is pulling the split stem. So we're going to take the stem out, and then we're going to either we're going to put some compressed air into it and blow the crystal off with that, or we're going to use the try and grab the hold of the crystal and take it off. So I quite like the compressed air method. We'll have a look. We'll see what we'll do. But first of all, being a monocoque construction, we're going to lift off this crown. You can do that just by doing like that. And there you can see the one side of the split stem. They call this the female side, because the other one sticks into it. Yeah, that's what it's called. And there you can see the male piece on the inside. I'm just going to push this in, so when we're going to remove the case later, that's not going to jam it. So that's in the correct position. I'm going to start by using the compressed air method. That worked quite nicely. I heard that nice big pop, and that's the crystal lifting off. You see the tension ring is left down there. Be a little bit careful. I always tend to keep a finger on top of the crystal. I don't want it to come off too violently. There's other ways of doing it, but under the crystal we can see how nice this dial really is. Beautiful. Now we're going to turn it around, lift the movement out. Lo and behold, we have the superb caliber 854. We did service a 853, I believe, last time, which is the model before this in the IWC Engineer. I'll put a link to that service video. But this time we're going to do this one. This is a no date. Yeah, we got the peloton winding. Looks to be in excellent condition. Very happy about that. Now I'm going to take this movement apart in time lapse to save a bit of time. I like to keep these movies or videos not too long, so it'd be really nice to open one of these up and then find that the rotor is not bent or distorted, the post is complete, finishing is really good, not too many scratches, really nice condition. So this is going to be hopefully a fairly straightforward service, and being a non-date, there's less stuff to do compared to a date mechanism, so hopefully a straightforward job. Now what I'm going to do is put this video into time lapse. So I'm going to remove the hands and then the dial and take the movement apart using time lapse so that we can save a little bit of time, so this video won't be too long. And yeah, I'll catch you up when this is taken apart and been through the cleaning machine, and we're going to put it back together in real time. Movement has been cleaned. I have fitted the mainspring into the barrel. So the hairspring came out and been cleaned as well with the movement, and it's been lubricated and put braking grease up against the walls of the barrel. And we have fitted the shock protection jewels. Very nice decoration here. And this one's just in really good condition, which is, you know, always nice. Now I've taken the balance off to keep that out of the way while we start putting together the rest of the movement. I always like putting a tiny droplet of oil in the surface where the lower barrel alba goes. And there's a better way of oiling it, putting a droplet on the side, also on the center wheel. There's a little bit much oil there, so we're just going to take the dab of that off, like so. I'm a bit excited. I've ordered a new kind of camera microscope thing, so I'm hoping to get much better shots and closer shots of certain details on these, which is a bit difficult with the current setup. So I'm excited to see how that works out. We're going to start by putting the barrel bridge back on. Bit of oil on there. And then we can secure this with a couple of screws. Then we're going to fit the gear train. Let's just get these in place. With the barrel in place, let's have a look. We need to fit the setting lever screw, because if we fit this later on, we'll have a problem. I like to take a tiny little droplet of oil on the side here and here, which could be oil, grease, but something just to keep it lubricated, because if you do have water ingress, it's nice to have a little bit of a protection barrier here, because if this gets stuck, yeah, it's not a fun place to start by breaking off pieces and whatnot. On the IWCs, the 53 and 54 series and 85, etc., I do find it a good idea to start by, let's have a look. Just noticed that this lower jewel is cracked, and that means we need to replace it. First of all, we're going to measure up the size of it. So we pop that on the micrometer, and we see that the center wheel diameter on the top pivot, or what goes in, is 0.58. So we probably want 0.59 or even 60 on the jewel. So I'm going to find a jewel that fits, hopefully. I have this lovely set here, which I bought a few years ago, and has been absolutely gold for these kind of jobs. So we measure it was 0.58, the next up is 60. 58 will be too tight, so we're going to go for 60. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push out the jewel from the plate, or the bridge, and then we're going to see how wide it is. So we know how big it's going to be in here, but we're also going to find out how big it's going to be here for it to work. The first thing we have to do is take this spring out, which luckily came out. This is just a push fit, and the reason is because otherwise the spring is going to be in the way for where the jewel is. So that had to come out. We're going to push that back in later. Next, we're going to press out the jewel itself. So I've put up a setup here. I've set this up where there's a hole stake here that will catch the jewel and also lean on the shoulder around here. And And then this will go in the middle and hopefully push the jewel out. I'm hoping it doesn't crack, because then I can successfully measure it afterwards. There we go. That's the jewel pushed out. Now we're going to measure the out of the circumstance of that jewel, and then we can see if we have something that will fit. If it will come out. There we go. So the center wheel outer diameter is just about 1 mil. So 1/10 under a mil. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what we have. Slight problem, and that is that the narrowest one is 120, but I do have a mix like this, so I'll have a look around. And are you kidding me? I found one that's exactly the same dimensions. So we're going to press that onto the gear train bridge now. So now I'm going to put a stake on the underside to rest on the inside of this raised part here to keep it stable. Hopefully we can just press the jewel in without cracking it. With the jewel in, we also have to press this sweep second pinion tension spring holder in place, like so. And focus, and there we have it. New jewel and the tension spring reassembled. So that's great. Let's continue putting this movement back together. Oh, proof is in the pudding. Let's pop this in, and before we fit all the other bits, we're just going to see that this wheel moves freely and there's no end shake. Bit of rod code to smooth the, there you go, that looks very good. And there's no end shake on that as well, there's no angle, that's perfect. Very happy with that. So we're going to fit these wheels like that, because if you look at the third wheel, it drives the sweep second pinion, and that's underneath a slot here, so very difficult to do otherwise. But if you fit this like that, and then you hold it in place, we carefully maneuver this position. Something like this, and then if we are a little bit lucky, this has fallen somewhat in place. Yes, excellent. You see that's moving freely, so I'm just going to quickly secure this bridge. Of course, very nice finish on all the screws here. Very nice, that's moving freely. Next, we have the ratchet wheel. and the winding, and we have the ratchet wheel and we have the crown wheel. Let's start with the ratchet wheel. You have this machine spring, or this spring on the side here, rather than a click. Something Shaco obviously adopted. It works, and yeah, it's all right. This is blocked just a tiny bit, so I can put a tiny bit of tension in there. Excellent. Now we're going to fit the crown wheel. Now we've got the crown wheel on. We're going to secure that as well. We have the 3 slotted screw to tell us that it is a left-hand drive, left-hand turn, tighten, whatever. Anyway, it's on there now. And next I'm going to fit the sweep second pinion in here and the little lid that goes on top. If we have a quick look at the size of those screws, which is that little speck of dust down there, I'm going to do that under the microscope, and I'm not going to muck around with the camera. I just want to get it right. I don't want to ruin the thread, because then I'll have lots of fun making new ones and finding correct screws, etc. So I just want to try and get this right. This is a weak spot on these movements, and yeah, sometimes you find these have just been glued in place. Somebody has given up on their will to live, understandably so. That was fortunate. We got that in place. Next, it's time for the escape wheel. That fortunately has its own little cock. Escape wheel cock, there you go. Funny terminology. And that does make the rest of it easier to put in. That comes on here. I'm going to secure that under the microscope, make sure I don't break any pivots. The train has been successfully put in place. Now it's time to put the setting and winding mechanism in, and then we can wind the movement, fit the pallet and pallet bridge, wind the movement, and then the balance, and then see if we have a running IWC. It did run before, but didn't need a service, and as you saw in the video, we had the broken center wheel jewel. It could have probably run with it, but I suspect that it might have started to wear the movement after a certain amount of time. It might have affected it. But now it's got a new jewel in it, which is the correct size, and it's just a lot better than having a broken one, in my opinion. When you're going to repair something, you might as well try and do it right. Look at the finish on the teeth on that sliding pinion, very shiny and nice. I'm going to keep it that way by keeping it lubricated. So putting a bit of grease on those teeth to avoid unnecessary wear. We can pop that in here. And then we have the winding pinion. We can drop in. It's really nice finish on that. Look at that. I don't know how much you're catching up on this camera, but really pretty thing, and also in very good condition. No water ingress or rust or nasty things, so that's great. for grease on the stem here. Disperse that all over, and then we can fit the stem in, and now we're going to fit the setting lever. And you might remember me talking about the setting lever screw and fitting the gear train, and that's because this comes out here on the side. Now if I'd forgotten to put that in earlier, see, it comes through here, I would have to take the gear train bridge off again and fit it. So done that many times, trying to avoid doing it. Good, that's in place. Next we can fit the cannon pinion on the clutch wheel. Good, that went down there nicely. Quickly going to oil the movement because we've got a jewel here. We're going to oil this quickly and do it under the microscope. Check out that cool logo here. I do believe I'm going to edit in a microscope shot of that now on the screen. Pretty snazzy. Right, now I've oiled the gear train, top and bottom. We might as well put a little bit of oil where the intermediate hand setting wheels will go. There's pillars like that. I do have a profile on Instagram, but I'm finding myself going away from it more and more, and I definitely don't want to spend time because every time I scroll it seems like every third post is advertisement of some kind. It wasn't that bad before, but they're really doing their best to try and kill it. But, which is a shame. It's nice to see what people collect and what you have, and you know, keep in touch on a social network like that. But they're all turning to Kaka. So yeah, that's I'm not very active there. I do post some things, but if you find me on Instagram, Mika Watch, and you don't find a lot of things happening, that's because I'm not too bothered with it anymore, because it's literally just turned into a feed of advertisement, which doesn't really interest me. Look at that, I could have oiled this later. It has a hole for the oiling, so for forgetful watchmakers can set the time till where you need to oil it and then do it. So yeah, didn't need to worry. Now for the intermediate setting wheel here, which looks identical to the other wheel here. There's one side that's a little bit beveled. I'm going to put that down towards this one. I go down towards the sliding pinion. Now we're going to fit the setting lever spring, which fortunately is in one piece. Always a shame when these are broken. Not that it's been a big problem on any IWCs I've worked on so far, but you do find them, and these are the kind of parts which getting harder to find, but certain people have started to remanufacture using CNC and laser cutters, etc. So very good use of technology to keep these watches alive. Well, that has one very nicely finished screw holding that in place. Unfortunately, this is not a date mechanism, as they do have very nice date mechanisms. But it does make for a very nice clean dial, especially with that linen finish. There we go. Excellent. Let's put a little bit of grease there. And got that split stem here just to see. Yeah, that's winding, and When this is not in the tube, it's always a pain. It's setting the time, and it's got nice friction as well. Let's turn this around, fit the pallet and pallet bridge, get a running movement. I'm going to go and have my lunch. After my lunch, when we have running movement, we're going to polish the case. It doesn't need a lot, but it's been refinished once before, removing the brushing on the side. So I'm just going to take a minor nicks out, rebrush it, and it's just going to look fantastic. I'm not super big on polishing cases, but this watch will just look so good when it's back. It's so close to being good now, but a badly polished case is something we'd like to rectify. I know there's a lot of hard feelings regarding case polishing, but that's my choice, and if you don't like it, too bad. There's a pallet. I'm going to line that up on the microscope, make sure I'm not breaking any pivots. There we go, all lined up. Let's secure those with the screws, correct screws. There's nothing worse than tightening screws and your pivots jumped up. And just as you think, oh no, you just hear a snap. And that's your pivot gone. Fortunately, not the case today. Excellent. Now I'm going to wind a movement and oil the pallet forks. And we're going to try and fit the balance and see if we can get it to run and how it will perform. To wind and set the time, I have borrowed the pendant tube from the case, which I've pushed out anyway because I'm going to polish it. Now this allows me to wind it without this sliding off all the time. Pallet has been oiled, and now it's time to fit the balance. Look how nicely the underside of this is. That's all the poising holes. They've been removing material at the factory to make sure the balance got the right weight compared to the spring of the hairspring, and it's just, you know, it's well, you say, you know, Patek, this kind of Patek Philippe stuff, so it's very, very nicely done. And you have the weight balances on each spoke going around. It's top notch. Let's see how this comes in. Yay, it's ticking. Secure that balance in place. How nice is that? You have the beat error micro-regulated here, and you have the timekeeping micro-regulated here. Absolutely fantastic. Really nice. See, that's a whole bridge going underneath here, secured with this, but then moved underneath. It's just really nicely made. That is one of my favorite balance designs. It's beautiful, really nice. And of course you have the pelage and then the Court de Geneve in a circular form going around, and that will be matched, of course, with the auto winding bridges coming on top with this. Really, really nice movements. So we've got the watch on the time graph. We've set the time. BT error 0.2 is good enough. Plus 9 seconds, plus 5 seconds is settling in here. 276 amplitude. Very happy with that. Let's check the positional variation. Plus 5 seconds a day. Dial down. Let's do crown south. So the crown is now facing downwards. This is a sideways position. Pretty good. Not much variation on timekeeping here. Went from +5 to, does that settle? It's not +10, that's a misreading. +4, so we have a second's difference there. Let's do dial up position. So we've turned it a flat dial up. Amplitude will recover in a second. And it's also gaining a bit of time again. So let's see where it lands at. Beta has gone down to 0.1, dial up, going 8 seconds a day. Looks about correct. Looking at the line, maybe that will calm down a bit. +8 seconds a day, 272 amplitude, 0.0 beta error. So that's +3 seconds from the other positional variation. That is fine. Let's do a final one, just for fun. We'll do the crown facing upwards. So crown north. Not bad at all. It's going to be about +2, I reckon, and that settles. +4. Crown to the right. Again, not much variation there. Very good. So we're going to settle at about 0 +1, I reckon. 0 -7 is incorrect. That's a misreading. So let that settle. +1, perfect. Now crown to the left. Again, excellent. This is fantastic. This is most likely going to keep, well, what can we say, ETA-like precision. It's going to be very close to chronometer grade in terms of accuracy here. We've got a couple of seconds. It might not be exactly COSC, but it'll be just around the borderline of being COSC grade accuracy. Crown to the left, it is losing 2 seconds a day. So there's a few seconds variation from different variations here, but from crown down, dial up, dial down, almost nothing at all. So very nicely adjusted movement. Happy with that. Very happy with the way this is performing. Now I think it's time to fit the auto winding mechanism. Usually I would do this with the movement in the case, but this being a monocoque, that's not really an option. So we sort of have to do that. So I made a bit of a dog's hair out of that oiling. Let's clean that up. So now I sort of have to do this before I fit the dial. There you can go. That's the bridge holding that peloton arm in place. We can now secure this, and then we're going to fit the oscillating weight, dial and hands. There we go. On that cam, you can see the action of that is going to hit this. So that moves this over and then moves around again. It drags this wheel with it. Grabs a hold of it and drags it. And then it pushes, drives in both directions. Of course, you manual wind this, that overlies like that because it's one directional drag, and when you're winding it, it's going the other direction, so it just slides over. Very clever and nice mechanism. I would only recommend you to give the initial wind if you need a little bit of power. This is fully working. It does wind very efficiently, so you can just give it one wind and just wind it up on your wrist, because then you won't be giving it unnecessary wear by wearing it. I'm going to take a couple of photos of this because this watch is probably going to come up for sale on my website, which is www.mitka.co.uk. There'll also be a link in this video. Now, to finish off, we can actually fit the oscillating weight. But I'm going to, well, essentially the oscillating weight comes on on the pillar and you have a little, you have this little thing here that screws on to the, can't see it because it's out of focus. That comes in here and locks the oscillating weight onto the pillar, but I'm actually going to fit that after I've fitted the dial and hands, so that I won't disform this while fitting the hands. So I just want to be a bit safe there. So yep, I'm going to turn this around, put the hands and dial and hands on, and give this a polish. This is the before issue here, and you can see it would have had a brushed finish here from what I've seen on other cases. That might be incorrect as well, but that's what I believe it would do. So it's going to get brushed finish here, high polish here, and then we're going to rebrush it on the top and polish on the side. On the back, I'll just have a little bit of pitting and stuff. I don't have a laser welder, which I wish I had, because I can fill this in and redo this. I might give it a light touch up and a brush on the back, but as it is right now, I'd prefer just to do the top of the case and then we can do the bottom some other time, but it will make it a really nice and representable watch with the really nice dial that it has. So yeah. Right, that's the case after refinishing. Pretty happy with that. Now with the textures that were missing before, and I think that looks just about right. Very nice. I did do my best on the back here. It had some very deep gouges, but over half of them have disappeared, been blended into the steel again, and it's not 100%, but I'd say 90% there. It looks, especially from the top and the side, it looks really nice and presentable. I've also changed the pendant tube. The old one was a bit pitted, so now we're going to drop the movement into the case. Like so. And we have this ring here to hold the movement in place, and then we're going to press the crystal onto the top. There we go, look at that. What a nice watch, both on the outside and the inside. I think giving the case a little bit of attention really lifted this up, especially as the dial is so nice. Now the case matches, very happy with that. It's a really nice watch, and it will be available at mitka.co.uk. Hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, have a good one.